Hello, book fans. I'm in Book Corner again because I'm going to be reviewing Agatha Christie's The Passenger to Frankfurt. This was written in 1970 and it only cost 40p for somebody, but I found it so it was free. So, this book is quite a quick, easy reader, only 190 pages or so. Quite nice, although the text is quite small for this particular edition. Published in 1972, this one. It's the first time in paperback. And as you can tell, it's got a little swastika. Can you see that on that spider? So it's got a little bit of Hitlerism in here, but it's not a whodunit murder mystery. This is a political thriller. And it is a good read. I'd say it's worth reading, but there is a bit of a proviso on that. Really, overall, it is a spoiler here. It's a 4 out of 5 experience, but it might be a 3 or even a 2 out of 5 experience for you. And there's a few errors, a few little problems with the book on the whole. So, how do we start? Our protagonist is some guy called Lord Stafford. He works for like the diplomatic service, and he's like the introductory character. And there are quite a few characters in here as well. And he comes into a conundrum where he has to with a passenger on a plane to Frankfurt, and he behaves in a certain way, does a certain thing, and it gets him involved in this kind of underworld, kind of underground business going on. So the premise of the book is that you have a mass youth movement which is trying to overthrow governments. You know, much like Corbynism did. No, it never happened, did it? So yeah, maybe a little bit far-fetched from that perspective. But there's some powerful people involved, so you can see how on the world stage with money involved, you could have this kind of thing happening. Maybe not quite as worldwide as indicated in this book, but who knows? The sky's the limit. This thing's never happened before, so maybe it is believable a bit. And I think a lot of the characters really do work well, and like the paranoia of Lord Stafford, and that is very good, and his interesting. It's interesting how he has this kind of queer approach to life, where he seeks out fun and excitement, but he also wants to do some spy work and that. So they seem to think that's a good idea, that somebody who likes fun and excitement would be a good spy, like Bond. So I'm not sure I believe that of his character, but he does seem to do some good spy work in it. But I suppose the thing is, it goes all around kind of Europe and the UK, in London, a lot of it's based, and that. So it's kind of interesting as the story gradually unravels of exactly what's happening. There's a Nazi association, of course, in there. But what is it that I liked about the book? I like that it's quite short and quite easy to read. What did I not like? The ending. It's utter tripe. Really is. And the thing is, Agatha Christie, people are saying, oh, she's a bit of a racist. And for a lot of this book, you won't believe it, although there is that slant. There is that right-wing slant, so it's not ideal. But as you get to the end, it really does come to the front. As a kind of pan of chocolate review coming up. It comes to the fore because it just kind of, I think you as you get into the end, right, you get to this kind of bit and you're thinking, how can it possibly come to an end at this stage? There's just too much to cover here. That's never going to happen. And true to its form, it really doesn't. It gets wrapped up really quickly. So, I mean, one of the spoilers is, I suppose, that this youth movement is a bit right-wing. But the funny thing is that the goodies are also right-wing. And you'll find that with the absolutely ridiculous kind of solution they come up with how to fix things. And also the way that they're opposed to the youth. And I think this is an error in the in Agatha Christie's viewpoint, that young people they tend to have certain leanings, and they're kind of, I suppose, more radical, and they want to rail against the old people, and the old people are set in their ways, but the old people are good because they've always been there, therefore we should carry on that way. And I find that's a little bit of a frustrated argument, and the methodology of the young people I might disagree with, and the fundamental core belief of them, yes, maybe. But the old people don't believe anything a lot better. And actually, funny enough, it's not like she doesn't recognise this, because the protagonist does point that out, and he does kind of hang on the fence. You wonder if he's which side of the fence he's gonna land on, with the goodies or the baddies. But nobody's a goodie and nobody's a baddie in it. I think if you just take it with a pinch of salt and read it like that, and don't get too involved with your belief in it. Just take your brain out a little bit, I'm trying to say. But the thing that I found most frustrating, well, I don't know if it's frustrating, I just thought the most ridiculous and racist, of course, was right at the end, and there's absolutely no reason for this bit. I really didn't understand why this phrase is in here, but it's a point where they're talking to a family doctor who's a Scotch family doctor. So somebody, Horsham, dude say it's called Horsham, I think he's a spy dude. I only just got it away from him in time. And then the doctor says, being the N-word in the woodpile all along. So you can imagine what that N-word is, and it's an American kind of saying. You can Google it if you want. I Googled it to figure out where it comes from. My dad's never heard of it, funnily enough, and he's British. But maybe some British people used it, but I don't think the Scotch are really the kind to use. I'm not saying the Scotch aren't racist, because actually there was the right wingers in the first Scottish Independence Party, that guy who kind of founded it. But anyway, but not from that perspective, not from the N-word perspective. So that just makes no sense at all. It's like she's trying to put it in because it's a saying that she likes to use, and therefore she thought it suited the character. The character we've not really been introduced a lot, so I mean, it's just ridiculous basically, and it's just an aspect of her own racism, I suppose, is the word, because it is a derogatory terminology, and it's horrible. But I'm stuck in a hole here. I need to stop talking about it because it makes no sense in the book, is what I'm trying to say, and I don't know why it exists. But it comes up with an epilogue as well. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It kind of gets even more ridiculous at the end. There's an epilogue, and it doesn't make sense at all. I won't tell you what the epilogue is, but it's absolutely bonkers. But it kind of tries to force a happy ending, where the happy ending isn't actually happy at all. It's kind of, I suppose it's something that you'd imagine Hitler would have done. And funny because they're the ones that are against Hitler. They're the goodies. Anyway, I've talked enough about this book. It's somewhere between a 3 and a 4 out of 5 experience. If you can't abhor racism, obviously it's a no-goer at all. But give me your comments, give me your questions down below. I'll try to answer them as well as I thoroughly can. Anyway, time for some snacks. But thank you very much for watching and have a great day. We're in the world of books.